Yes, it is the Thom Hartmann Program, but I'm Sam Sachs, filling in for Thom Hartmann today. We've reached the third hour of the radio show today, which means it's time to fight. Joining me now is Charles Sauer, economist and president at the Market Institute. You also self-define as a libertarian.
I do.
That's good. You don't feel threatened to self-identify as a libertarian.
I might even self-identify as an objectivist.
What about the alt-right? What about alt-right?
I do not self-identify. I definitely come out against the alt-right.
So, have you used the internet at all today?
I have used the internet a few times today.
Multiple times. You're probably on the metro or whatever, on your phone, waiting around. When you were waiting around to come on the show, you were probably scrolling through Twitter or something on your phone.
That is true.
What's wrong with the internet as it is right now?
Well, there is $5.7 billion less invested in the internet last year than there was in 2014. So I'm not sure what is wrong with the internet now, but it's more than likely slower than it should be, and there's probably less infrastructure than there should be.
I don't know where you guys keep getting these numbers that investment is down. It's up 5.3%, $7.3 billion from 2014 to 2015. Telecom investment is going to go up $4.7 billion projected next year. They're still going up year after year after year. So
this is the left proving they still don't know how to talk about numbers, because 2015 is when the net neutrality regs went into place. The numbers that I'm using are 2014 and 2016, and they come from the Free State Institute, if you want to look them up.
Free State Institute, okay, and that's an institute funded by the telecom companies.
No, it's a Kansas think tank.
Okay, that has affiliated with ALEC and has been.
What are you getting your numbers from?
I'm getting my numbers here.
I see the Guardian.
I have lots of papers here that I am getting my numbers from, but we're still seeing tons of investment. AT&T had a cash flow of $16 billion here, $16.9 billion last year. I mean, isn't it AT&T's fault if they're not investing when they have $16.9 billion here that they're just sitting on playing with?
Now, I know that you are a very good host of a radio show, but now you're CEO of a telecom, and you know what their return needs to be. The return rates on telecom, I'm not sure what they are. The return rates when the left was attacking oil, the return rates were at like 4% or 3%. The return rates in like investment in Hollywood was like 30, 40, 50%. Talking about numbers like billions is just there to throw fear of these large profits at people using the term billions. But $16 billion might not be a lot if they're investing $100 billion or $1 trillion. I mean, you have to put those numbers into perspective. And the fact is that they're providing internet, which is helping provide work and increasing the value of people and their ability to find jobs.
If you're a company and you're deciding not to invest, even though you have the money to invest, indefinitely, I guess, not invest because you're mad about some regulation, isn't that your company's problem? I mean, how many people who are using the internet, who used it today like you, and have no problems with their actual interface? They can visit every website they want. It's all coming to them at the speeds that they want. They're not having to pay exclusively for certain traffic. Why do those people care about the investment, whether or not AT&T is deciding to invest or not, because they're mad about some regulation?
First off, let's pull this back a notch, because this is how the left likes to talk about business. And the fact is that we know one of the darlings of the left, President LBJ, actually made his fortune by getting the FCC not only to restrict radio in Texas, but then to continue to push people out of his way. The left likes using regulation to benefit their people. And we have a history of proof on that. And all that net neutrality, all that rolling net neutrality back to light touch regulation does is actually let people compete. And so it stops the government from being the arbiter.
But this is the state we live in right now. Net neutrality is in place right now. There is still tons of competition going on right now.
Less competition than there should be.
Okay. Assuming your numbers are correct.
And pre-net neutrality.
And still, investment is still going up year over year.
And I would say
since net neutrality,
pre-net neutrality, Google entered the marketplace and started laying fiber in Kansas City. So even before net neutrality, we saw people that were frustrated with the market and saw an ability to enter it and did enter the market.
So let's take your example. Let's assume that we get rid of net neutrality and all these companies start investing again. But what they also do is they decide that they're going to create a tiered internet or a walled off internet where you, the consumer, kind of like cable, like how you watch TV right now. You pay a minimum package for a small number of channels. You can pay for more channels and more channels and more channels. What if internet companies start doing that with the internet? And are you afraid that they might do this, or are you unconcerned by this at all?
I love the fear mongering on this, right?
Why is this fear mongering? These are the same exact companies operating. With cable, they've presented these packages because this is maximum profit for them for their business model. Yeah. What's to say that they won't do the same with the internet? That here's your deal. You can have the basic internet where you get these small amount of websites plus the content we, the internet service provider, own. You can have all that you want. But if you want Netflix or something else, you have to pay more. If you want left-wing websites like my website, you have to pay more for that. That seems like a new development that people will not be happy with.
Do I want a consumer demand-driven internet, or do I want an internet that's driven by the 28-year-old bureaucrat sitting behind a desk deciding what website should come before another? Or
not the way it's working.
No, actually it is.
The 28-year-old bureaucrat is saying you can't make one website over the other.
That's correct.
It's the ISPs that want to do that.
You're making my point for me. The fact is that the 28-year-old is saying that email traffic needs to work as fast as Skype traffic, which in fact breaks the internet. So Skype traffic has to have a perfect flow to it. Email traffic, on the other hand, or the packets can ping back because you don't need all of your email packets to hit your inbox at one time. Skype, on the other hand, if it has a skip, has a problem. And so different internet businesses need different internet traffic. It's just kind of like going down the street commuting here. There is an HOV lane. You can pay to get in it. It helps the speed of traffic in both lanes when you have the HOV lane. But that's still beyond the point because that's not what we've seen in internet traffic. We see consumers have demanded the traffic.
But we did start to see that developing before the net neutrality rules came into place. You started seeing Comcast basically hold Netflix hostage until they paid them more money to be able to have fast lane access.
That's actually
to consumers.
Completely and totally wrong. Netflix was no, check out the news stories on this. Netflix was throttling their customers without telling them while advocating for net neutrality. And on top of that, when they finally admitted it, they then kind of changed it. But Netflix was the one that was doing the throttling, and nobody else was. Throttling isn't something that benefits the major ISPs. The fact is that people like a fair and open internet. The major ISP companies support neutrality. They just don't support heavy-handed government regulation.
AT&T blocked FaceTime on iPhones in 2012, claiming it was too much bandwidth. AT&T had a different service that they wanted people to use instead of FaceTime. That seems like another example where you'll have internet service providers basically offering their own certain service and denying their competitor service on those, to quote Ted Stevens, tubes.
Well, I hate quibbling about words, but the fact is tubes is what most of the people that use internet talk about. They're like, they want a bigger pipeline in there. We've talked about pipelines into this studio before, but also we've already proven Netflix is wrong. So we're talking about this one incident of AT&T throttling, and it was highly publicized and hurt their demand. That's the type of thing that increases the demand for a company like Google to come in and compete with them.
So you don't think this is a problem at all? You don't see companies down the road treating the internet like they treat television cable, like they treat cable packages? Or do you see that and not have a problem with it? I'm not quite sure.
I don't support a 28-year-old sitting behind a desk in government deciding what investment should be made.
There's no 28-year-old. That's a mystery. I mean, that's a red herring here.
There's no 28-year-olds working in government that doesn't exist.
There's not some all-powerful 28-year-old who's determining internet policy right now. There's a guy, IG Pie, who wears an oversized suit who's determining net neutrality policy right now.
Well, at least you gave him the oversized suit instead of the attacks that he's getting based on his ethnicity and his race from the left right now. So, I mean,
I haven't seen any of those, but I have seen the 2.9 million comments that have been lodged on the FCC in support of net neutrality, because we did just have this fight in 2015. We had a commission that went through the proper process. They solicited public comment. They went through the rulemaking process. It was voted on. It was done. And 2 years later, we're revisiting this entire fight and doing the same thing, and the public comments are saying the same exact thing. The only thing that came in support were 450,000 comments to the FCC website in support of IGPI. That turns out they were all fake comments from bots.
Look at the background of these numbers. That they were those reports are, if they're from the left, they were real people, and if they're from the right, they were bots. And which is untrue. The left and right can both use forms, and the forms have the same effect depending on what your political background is when you look at them. But if you look at the reports from the left, they're not all. A lot of them are going after Ajit Pai and his background, besides the fact that they have the funny names to go along with them.
I was just looking up here, by the way, the Free State Foundation has ties to the American Legislative Exchange Council, which lefties who know or listening know about. When they hear ALEC, that's kind of like the giant boogeyman. So, I mean, it has tons of corporate lobbyists who work for it. They write legislation. Something tells me that their numbers might be a little bit different than what, say, Free Press or something might come out. And Free Press has shown that investments in broadband have continued to increase since 2015 when the net neutrality rules were passed.
But I just don't see that that's the way that it makes sense. A nonprofit think tank that is supported by
with industry ties,
with industry knowledge. Maybe, but if you want research from people that don't know what they're talking about, then maybe not having industry ties is a good thing. I think that's the way the left does science.
I think we've gotten into the weeds a lot with this debate here, but my ultimate point is we are living in this dystopic world that you imagine with net neutrality. We're living in it. We've been living in it for the last 2 years. And I don't know one internet consumer who has a problem with how they can access the traffic. And I know a lot of people who'd have a problem if 10 years from now, they suddenly have to have tiered access to various websites.
Hey,
I'll give you the last word in 10 seconds.
The left wants to support one set of cronies, and I want the market to work.
Charles Sauer, self-identified libertarian. He's also an economist and president at the Market Institute. Follow him on Twitter at Charles Sauer and at Market Institute. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.